All right, Nick, let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. No, this isn't exciting news about a team that just went through 8 overtimes and pulled out a win. We're not going to talk about that game, but there's some other really exciting news that happened down in Athens as well. And I think it's going to be really great for the future of this team. Before we get into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, let's jump on into it. The Georgia Bulldogs have had a major recruiting move happen after their major win. They're able to scrape that one out and show that a win is a win, and you got to win ugly games as well. And they did just that. I think it was very impressive, actually. But they made a big recruiting win as well. Let's get into the article and we talk more about it on the other side. This is a tweet from over at Hayes Fawcett at On3 Sports. Really great, has all the best high school, college recruiting news. So if you want to check that out, go give him a follow over on X. It says breaking class of 2025 QB Hezekiah Millender has flipped his commitment from Boise State to Georgia, he tells me, for at On3 Recruits. The 6'3", 210 QB from Athens, Georgia, has been committed to the Broncos since August. He says, Athens, y'all okay if I stay a little longer? I think this is great for numerous reasons. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. But before we do that and get to you, Nick, Georgia fans, in the comment section below, I'm going to give you a little bit of place to vent. Just tell us, what do you think about that game this past weekend? I think it was crazy. I think it was, unbelievable. I think they showed a lot of promise. What do you think about that? And how do you think you're going to be looking towards the SEC championship game as well? You get in? Is it Texas? Who are you facing? What is going on there as well? Tell us how you think that's all going to shake out before, very shortly we're all going to find out anyways. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest recruiting news for the Bulldogs?
So this time of the year, I always like to see powerful programs, the better programs, the blue bloods playing well, making deep title pushes, asserting their dominance in the recruiting game on a national level. Because this is the time of year where college football transitions into a national game, right? It's usually pretty regional. If you're in Los Angeles, are you watching the SEC? If you're in Purdue, Indiana, right? Are you watching Texas play Texas A&M? No, you're kind of stuck with your regional teams for most of the season. But now that we get into conference championship week and then the playoff scenario, it becomes national. Now someone at national cares about every single team. It's all about who's going to win the national title. And this is where good programs, smart programs like the Georgia Bulldogs obviously are, take advantage of that and secure solid commitments. You're not going to get the 5-star superstars during this window, right? Because those kids, they understand that their opportunities are going to be after the season. They got 5 million people calling them either after the season or before. They can wait it out as long as they can. But the solid middle of the road steady guys, to use the NFL comparison, the third or fourth round picks, the guys that make the backbone, the middle core of your roster, whether they're solid contributors or great depth pieces, this is the time of year to secure them. And that's exactly what the Georgia Bulldogs did here with Millender. And Millender could end up being a great prospect. Who knows? I'm calling him a solid depth piece. He could become the greatest quarterback in Georgia history, right? We'll see how it all shakes out. But the smart national programs take advantage of this opportunity, and they understand they're getting all the recognition. Everyone's talking about playoff scenarios. They're talking about Oregon. They're talking about Georgia. They're talking about Texas. They're talking about Alabama. They're talking about, whatever, right? And the fact that Georgia was able to beat out some other national names in college football playoff contention right now to get Millender, I think is a great sign for the future of this program. Again, on this channel, we are always very focused on the future because we know that long-term success in college football is predicated on winning in the recruiting game consistently. Anyone can have one great season and have a magical run. Georgia proved that when they beat the brakes off of TCU in the national title game a few years ago. TCU had that magical season. That's not sustainable success. We know what's happened to the Horned Frog since then. Long-term sustainable success is about recruiting. It's about roster building. It's about building a deep, talented squad that is bought into your program. Georgia's done a great job of that under Kirby Smart. And this latest recruiting move, getting Millender to commit to the Bulldogs, is again a further sign that Georgia Bulldogs are able and willing to take advantage of any recruiting opportunity to make their team better. Great move here by Kirby Smart. Again, there's so much noise going on right now, right? We've got rivalry week. We've got conference championships next week. We've got playoff scenarios all around. The Georgia Bulldogs, in terms of recruiting, putting the noise aside, making a solid move here.
Yeah, Nick, and I think, the who they did it from is also important because this isn't just some random Boise State team anymore. This is
Wow.
a Boise State
Yeah.
team. It's a playoff team, first round bye team as far as being one of those big dogs. This is a Boise State team that's very, very talented. So, and they've shown, hey, we've got a running back. We can get people national attention. We can get you Heisman notice. We can get you NFL notice. So, obviously, Georgia is a much better team overall than Boise State, but this isn't just any old Boise State that you would see in past years and be like, hey, congratulations, you're beating up on, the much, much like infant little brother, Boise State. This is a 13-year-old brother. This is, he's going to put up a little bit of a fight. So I think this is a really big move for Georgia in that aspect, as well as that they're able to get one from probably one of the top 10 teams in the country right now that has a lot of noise surrounding them. So I think that is good for Georgia. And obviously, we talk about it all the time. You can't forget about your local guys. And this is kind of what you're hitting on is all the 5-star guys, all four, even the good 4-star guys. That's not who you're going to get this time of year. There's better opportunities for those guys to announce where they're going so they don't get washed in all of the noise. This is the nitty gritty, and being able to go after, a promising prospect, 3-star quarterback from your hometown in Athens, like really, probably like a mile away from the school or something like that. I don't know exactly what his address is, but he's a very, very hyper local guy. This is the time you need to get back to your basis and say, hey, let's make sure there's not any talent out there that we are missing locally. We can make sure we can, hyper maximize on that talent, get the local guys coming back to the school, because I think that's always really important. You don't dominate the state of Georgia or even the city of Athens. If you're not 100% on top of it, you're not going to be recruiting to your fullest potential. You can't be like the old Jimbo Fisher teams where he goes out and he just pulls the best talent from all around the country and just collects different pieces. You want to be on top of it and have a strategy as what you want to do. I think this was a really great move by Kirby Smart.
Yeah, one final point to end on. You brought up a great point. I kind of hit on it there, but you explained it good. Is that this is the time of year where you're not going to get the 4 or 5-star times, because 4 or 5-star recruits, because there's going to be times of the year where there are fewer distractions, where they're going to want to make their announcements. It reminds me of a boss I had one point earlier in my career. He said, the good companies are companies that take the time from Thanksgiving to Christmas to work just as hard as any other time of the year. The bad companies use that time of the holidays to kind of kick their feet up and relax. The good companies, he would always say, take advantage of that window, because the bad companies are relaxing. There's a lot of noise during the holidays, obviously, a lot of stuff going on. The Georgia Bulldogs are the good company example. All these other programs with the noise of the playoffs, rivalry games, conference championships, a lot of noise, they kind of take a step back off the recruiting game. Georgia, not so. They're taking a strong approach, winning the local guys with the national attention. Smart move once again by Kirby Smart in Georgia.